From Red Rocks Amphitheater in Morrison, Colorado, to Madison Square Garden in New York City, from the Ryman Auditorium in Nashville, Tennessee, to the Apollo Theater on Harlem's 125th Street, these stages carry decades of music, memory, and myth. Today we focus on the Surf Ballroom in Clear Lake, Iowa, a modest hall with an outsized legacy tied to Don McLean's The Day the Music Died. Before we revisit that night and tour the hallowed grounds, we talk to our friend Mike Schulte, drummer of the Pork Tornadoes, one of the most popular bands in Iowa and the Midwest, who's played the Surf Ballroom multiple times. Mike describes what it's like to perform on the same stage as some of the biggest names in music and the same stage where three legends of rock and roll played their last performance.
Being able to be in a band that has not only played the Surf Ballroom, but has headlined the Surf Ballroom, that has done it 6 times and has sold 1,500, 2,000 tickets to our concerts is one of the coolest things I've ever done. I mean, Surf Ballroom is such an iconic venue. It's Madison Square Gardens, it's Red Rocks. Everyone knows Surf Ballroom because of the unfortunate events that the day the music died. And, you know, for us to be able to be on that stage in our home state and to get people there and to continue on the legacy of concerts and live music and getting people together to have moments it's one of the greatest things ever. Young Mike Schulte would have never guessed that this is a possibility in life. And one of the coolest things for me is being the drummer of the band, where I sit on the drum riser in the new stage configuration. Stages were much smaller back then. Where I sit as the drummer is right where the singer would have stood back in the day. So I'll be playing, taking it all in, and I'll look up and see the original half circle of where the original bandstand stage was and know that I'm where Johnny Cash was, where Buddy Holly was, where Waylon Jennings was, Big Bopper. They were standing right here, and I'm doing what they did just, 70 years later. And it's wild. And being able to sign your name on that wall, it's just, man, the little things of being a musician. That green room is not up to par with green rooms nowadays. It has none of the things you need, but yet we spend all our time in there because you're just feeling like it's history, and people are, the ghosts of all the other musicians are there and cheering you on to get on stage. If you haven't had a chance to visit the Surf Ballroom, it's a top 5 music venue in the Midwest. It is a top 5 travel destination in the Midwest. You got to go see it for yourself. It's just, you feel special just being in that building. It's just like you're transformed back in time.
You'll start your visit at the Surf Music Experience Center, where the Surf Ballroom's music and history all come alive. You'll catch Not Fade Away, the story behind the sound. It's a video that runs just over 8 minutes. There's tons of incredible memorabilia on display, and I wish we had time to show you it all. The whole tour plus the video is $19.59, and it's totally worth it. You'll leave absolutely buzzing with music and stories before you head over to the historic Surf Ballroom.
So we'll walk over to the other side over here. There's a actual monument.
So Ritchie Valens was 17, Buddy Holly was 22, J.P. Richardson was 27 or 28, and Roger Peterson was 21. So if you average those ages, 22, so that's like a college senior. They're so young.
Yeah.
That
would have been
teenager in
incredible.
1959 in northern Iowa.
Yeah.
And the 3 biggest names in music are coming.
So yeah, here's capacity is 2,100. It's very large. So here we are.
Wow. I always hear that it feels different in here. It does.
Mm-hmm.
It feels like there's a lot of history in
Surf
here.
Ballroom, Rock and Roll Hall of Fame.
They were so young.
They're very young.
The piano.
This is
That was signed by Duke Ellington?
Duke Ellington. You can barely make it out in there, but Duke Ellington, the Duke. There's a history of the building itself. Takes you throughout the years.
That could have been a sad year.
Right, that was the year that it was in disarray in the Snyder family, which we just met.
Yeah, that was incredible.
Just met outside.
Yeah.
They saved the place.
Yes.
But you can see how the history started with the big band era, and they had all the big names.
We listen to rock and roll in the 50s now, and it's so innocent. But then it was scandalous to parents.
The old box
Yeah.
from a grand opening.
It was $1.25 for the ticket for the winter dance party, but they let parents in for free.
So these are the people that bought the Surf Ballroom in 1994, and they did the renovations and restorations. We just ran into his granddaughter that's having a son's great-grandson's graduation next door.
I know. Extremely friendly.
Yes. That has a nice little gift shop. And here is the phone booth where Buddy Holly called his wife right before leaving the Surf Ballroom after performing. And then Ritchie Valens calls his manager. He was actually pretty homesick and was just tired of the struggles of being on tour. This tour was affectionately known to the people that were part of the tour, the groups and all the performers, was the tour from hell. Just due to multiple bus breakdowns, not having heat, no nights off. There was no consistency or flow that a tour. They would be in Wisconsin one day and then have to drive overnight into Iowa and then back into Wisconsin again, then come back to Iowa or Minnesota. It was just zigzagged all over the Midwest. And Clear Lake was a late-minute throw-in. Just look at the history, and I know some of the modern technologies here with lighting and sound systems and whatnot, but still has the flooring and the booth. There's Chris up on the stage. This was added on. They were actually back behind that. Yeah, that's the start. That's where they performed on. Yeah, crazy. I'll give a pan around here. You can see the palm trees and the work of trying to give this a more warmer feel than in the middle of northern Iowa during the months of February of 1959. Look at all of the booths. If you get tired of dancing and carrying on the ballroom floor, you could come here and take a breather and sit in these booths. And there was a snack bar back behind where you could purchase drinks and food. But all of this still frozen in time. It makes me really want to come here and see some music. I would like to feel the vibe of some live music crunching through this joint. Here's the green room where all of them would have cycled through. As you can see from the inside here, it's become a thing now. If you perform, that you may sign the walls, and if you look around here, some of the history that's involved, it's up on the ceiling as well.
And of course, Don McLean.
Yeah. Don McLean right there. Special highlights. Performers. There's the Ritchie Valens family. There's Frankie Valli and the Four Seasons. Amazing. Here's the sinks here, and this is the sinks that they had done their laundry in. And then they had hung their laundry while they were performing up here on those hooks, because that was a constant problem. nothing would dry on the bus because it was so cold, so they were always trying to keep up with laundry. Just the huge names that have signed these. And then here built into the door, some pretty cool caricatures and artwork. There's Brian Wilson's signature, a caricature of him. And then this looks like ZZ Top. Caricature of them. Pretty neat, just all the history here. You'd be staging here in the green room, and then when it was your time to perform, you'd walk through this door and onto the stage. And this is the stage. Everything that is darker color was added on, but this is where everybody would have performed. Buddy Holly actually did multiple duties this night. Ritchie Valens, drummer, I believe, had frostbite on his feet, and so just due to how cold the conditions were on the bus, so Buddy Holly actually played drums for Ritchie Valens, and then performed with the Crickets with Waylon Jennings and Tommy Allison. There's a shot going back into the green room. It's really quaint, but it's cool quaint, you know? I mean, it's just stacked so full of history. Conversations. I believe it was here in this doorway where the $50 flip occurred with Ritchie Valens and Tommy also. I believe there's a coin.
It's not the original.
This is not the original coin, but this is what it would have looked like at later. Right there. All right. Right here? Yeah, that'd be cool. All right, thank you. Thank you much. This is where he was. Nice. Signing monograph.
So, just a little background. On February 3rd, 1959, a day that Don McLean would dub the day the music died, and the reason why we're at the Surf Ballroom today. So Buddy Holly had some issues with his management company, which is why he went on the tour from hell is what they lovingly, I guess the tour from hell if hell had frozen over.
Right, yeah. Just the tour was plagued with a lot of different issues. Yeah. One, it wasn't a graceful arc around the Midwest. They would be in northern Wisconsin, and then the next night play in Iowa, then go back up into Wisconsin or Minnesota.
I think the person who booked didn't know Midwest geography very well.
No, so it was all over the place. And it was 24 days, 24 shows in 24 different places. There was no nights off. It was one of the worst winters in the Midwest that they had in 30 years. Multiple breakdowns with the bus. There was actually performers that were getting frostbite. They weren't feeling well. Their flu had broke out amongst a lot of the band and performers. And, you know, there was no roadies or anything.
Right.
They were doing all of their own setup. They were moving their gear. They were doing their own laundry. It was just a really hard tour.
They were old refurbished school buses.
Yeah.
So no heat. He was absolutely miserable. And I think Buddy Holly, by the time he got to Clear Lake, had had enough. Like, he was done. He wanted to take him and his band members, which included Waylon Jennings.
Yep, and Tom Alsop.
And Tommy Alsop. And he wanted to fly them to the next destination, which was Moorhead. But they were flying into Fargo, North Dakota. Right. They could get there a few hours earlier than if they had taken the bus. They could get some laundry done, and they could get a little sleep.
Yeah.
It ended up that J.P. Richardson was ill.
But yeah, he had the flu, and so he approached Waylon Jennings to say, hey, I'm not really feeling good. I can't fathom sitting on that bus and freezing and all of that for 5 hours. Do you mind if I take your spot? And Waylon Jennings says, that's fine. Talk with Buddy.
Yeah.
You know, Buddy got it for us, but if you really want it, you need it, go ahead and take it. And Buddy okayed it. And then Valens, hearing that, was like, hey, this is a really good idea.
Yeah.
I'll flip you for it, for Tommy's spot.
Which is weird because he was scared to death of flying.
Hated flying.
But that's how bad the conditions were.
Yeah, he wasn't having a fun time. Remember, he was a 17-year-old kid.
Yeah.
I mean, he was like a baby almost, he had just been performing for about 8 months, so it was all kind of new to him. But yeah, he didn't like flying. He was very homesick. He almost had to have daily pep talks. He envied the thought of gaining some time as well, maybe some more sleep, comfortable hotel room. And so he flipped a $50 piece with Tommy, the guitars for Buddy Holly. And it was heads, and that's what Valens had picked. So he won the toss.
Yeah. So the fateful toss. And he famously said, "That's the first thing I've ever won in my life."
The famous exchange with Waylon Jennings and Buddy Holly. Buddy Holly says, "I hope your old damn bus freezes up."
Yeah.
And Waylon Jennings, just trying to be funny.
Yeah, tongue in cheek.
Tongue in cheek. "I hope your damn plane crashes." It was just one of those ha-ha moments. But Waylon Jennings actually talks about this in great detail. It haunted him for his whole entire life. Just that interaction there, and it stuck with him for a bit. He had the survivor's remorse.
Buddy Holly did not tell his wife that he was flying because she would be totally against it.
Right.
And then she found out on the news about the crash.
Yeah, so that's another really interesting part of this, an odd situation that the performers, not having the technology that we have today, they didn't hear about the wreck until they checked into the hotel the next morning.
Yeah.
And so nobody knew. And here's another crazy thing is the tour continued. They played that night. They actually flew people in to fill spots. They added another act, but they continued the tour. They allowed Waylon Jennings and Tommy Alsop to fly to Buddy Holly's funeral, but then they flew them right back to continue on for another 2 weeks with the tour. So it didn't stop, which is another crazy thing as well.
And it's sad that Buddy Holly's wife was unable to attend his funeral because she was pregnant, and the stress of what had happened, took a toll on her in the pregnancy.
And sadly, she miscarried with that. Yeah. But Waylon Jennings' family heard about the wreck on the news. They assumed he was dead. Yeah. And so did Tommy Alsop's family, because they had been told that, hey, that we're chartering this plane with Buddy, we're going to fly up ahead of the rest of the tour.
It's a sad thing, but I'm so glad the Surf Ballroom is still here, still celebrating.
Here we are. We just parked in the Don McLean American Pie parking. We're going to visit the crash site, but behind us there is a Venmo. They have keychains that you can buy with a guitar, and then you just, on the honor system, Venmo that out. And then here it is a private residence, but the family of the farm where the crash site was has donated that land so everyone can go out and visit. You cross the gravel road from the parking area, and here's the iconic Buddy Holly black rim glasses. And you can see a lot of people have paid homage, a lot of glasses and stickers and signage and a lot of things. It's amazing how long that's been since it occurred, but look at the people that it's still
almost 70 years.
67
years.
Still relevant, and still people coming out. You're coming to a site that had just a traumatic event that just changed how music was made, and
everything I think we listened to for music had some influence of Buddy Holly.
Well, we were talking with some friends, a gentleman that's a little bit older than us. We're both in our 50s, Chris and I, but he speculated that Buddy Holly, if he would have lived, he probably would have been bigger and larger than Elvis Presley.
Well, even like Paul McCartney said, he was influenced by Buddy Holly, and the Beatles influence almost everything we listen to.
Yeah, I
so
think
clearly Buddy Holly influenced almost everything. The Beatles were always going to be huge no matter what, but I always wonder what the rest of the British invasion would have looked like had Buddy Holly,
Right.
Big Bopper, and Ritchie Valens had they lived, if that would have looked different. The 60s would have looked, the music anyway, would have looked different.
So the airport is about
5.5 miles? 5.2 miles?
5.2 miles from the crash site. So they weren't in the air that long that night. Pretty cold temperatures. I think it was around 10 degrees. There was a windy, I believe it was 18 to 22 miles an hour, and they were having some light snow. And they were going to encounter a cold front in between here and Fargo. Here. We've reached the site. Yeah, it's so it's a very nice memorial here. Once you see everyone that was involved, Buddy Holly, Ritchie Valens, the Big Bopper, tells the date. They performed on the 2nd in Clear Lake, but like I said, this is 1 a.m., so it was technically the 3rd of February when they crashed. And then there is a nice memorial here to young Roger Peterson. He was only 21, and the pilot there. He was working for a charter company. Some of the things I talk about with him is that he had a fairly good amount of flight hours, and he had passed his written test with instrumentation flying, but he had failed his field or flight testing. This was also a different system that he had been working with when it came to the navigation for the plane. The plane impacted here, right on this fence line, right on this row, and there's that iconic footage of the mangled fuselage right here on the fence line. And then as we're standing here, I'll back up a little bit. I'm going to be off just a skosh, but so the fuselage would have been up against the fence line in front of us here, and then Ritchie Valens and Buddy Holly, they were actually lying off to the side here. One was probably about where I'm at, and then the other one may have been a little bit further up. And then compared to where the fuselage was, the Big Bopper was in the adjacent field somewhere out there about 40 feet. They impacted at about 170 miles an hour when they did the investigation. All 4 of the bodies had some pretty traumatic injuries. The pilot was actually still in the fuselage. There's also an iconic shot looking back to the parking area where all of the police and rescue were parked over here, and coming back and looking at the actual wreckage here at the site. Once again, a lot of people have dropped mementos and keepsakes here for memorial. There's golf balls, there's literature, there's people that have made some artwork here.
I don't know how to explain it, but there's a lot of, we're the only ones out here right now, but I feel like there's a lot of emotion out here.
Mm-hmm.
Does that make sense?
Yeah, I think it has that feeling that knowing where it is and all of the memorial here, it is somewhat of a sacred space. Yeah, there's a constant influx. Like we said, there's people coming behind us as well, but yes.
And we've seen different generation. I mean, we're Gen X, but a lot of baby boomers, of course, but you see every generation here.
Yeah, we parked a young gentleman, probably in his 20s, was from Kansas that came out here. It's been a great trip, and I would definitely recommend.
It's an interesting thought to think that if they had not died, what would have become. And, you know, I do think there's something to be said about becoming legendary when you are frozen in time and you're stuck at this certain age and this certain skill and peak level. The fact that they were stuck in time, I think, allows us to view them in their peaks. And, you know, so yeah, like, you know, the British invasion would have come through and they would have taken a dip in popularity. And I kind of much prefer to think of them as just they were always on top. And the last show they played was on top kind of a thing.
If you like this content, you know what to do. Like, subscribe, get notifications for more videos just like this from JCJ Adventures 48.